We interrupt the usual foodoffensive.com weekly update to bring you a special report for the big American near holiday that is Super Bowl Sunday. That's right, I have aptly titled this episode, Super Bowl Party Food Exposed. Now, Super Bowl can be arguably the second biggest food consumption day of the year. And that's next to Thanksgiving, of course. If you have been watching my other videos and have not given up on eating altogether, here is an episode destined to ruin your Super Bowl party experience this year. That's right, this is not a show about how to make those yummy and satisfying hors d'oeuvres for your next party, but rather what dangerous little goodies that those foods contain. Now that's whether you make them from scratch or you buy them pre-made. After watching this, you might be at a Super Bowl party and you might just find yourself being that person standing in the corner, and that when you are offered food, you pat your stomach and say, no, I ate before I came. No, thank you. Maybe we need a good dose of reality when it comes to paying attention to what we are eating. Yep, this show goes beyond whether something is healthy to eat from a nutritional or fat or sugar content perspective. What about how your food is grown? How much artificial and chemical-laden ingredients are used? And how long and how many ingredients list items you can't pronounce? And so on and so forth. Now in this episode, we will look at some of the popular foods served at Super Bowl parties and their potential dangers. We're going to look at a couple of different articles I found online, just kind of going through the statistics on what foods are served at Super Bowl parties typically, and how much food we're going to consume this year. But actually, looking at the past years, how much food we've consumed in the past years of these particular food items. So this article is from the Foodie Gossip blogspot.com article and website, and it's a little bit of Super Bowl statistics around food. And one of those is 28 million pounds of potato chips are expected to be consumed. Now, there was a recent article that kind of ties into this and talking about food safety and the food that we eat. And it's from naturalnews.com, and it's titled, Frying Potatoes to Make Chips or French Fries Produces a Potent Chemical Carcinogen Called Acrylamide. And that's, of course, naturalnews.com. You can look at that site more, and you can see below in the video, in the About section, about that article. And then I can't forget to mention also, aside from that article, also that there's anti-foaming agents that are used in fryer oils. If you were to buy a certain fryer oil, I know commercial grade fryer oils have this Dimethylpolysiloxane, which that sounds scary in and of itself, but it's basically an anti-foaming agent, and that's there was a lot of buzz in the last couple of years about McDonald's having this in their chicken nuggets, this anti-foaming agent, and basically it's a type of silicone. So those breasts are injected with silicone that you're eating if you're eating at McDonald's. Naturalnews.com has a little bit of blurb about that anti-foaming agent with a scary long name. There's also a danger of trans fats or cholesterol. Now, there's been a big trans fat movement, and that's caused people to go to trans fat-free oils, and that's really has helped. That's, once again, you voting with your dollars and you demanding that, and that's what we try to push here, is demanding better food for us. Now, trans fats, we looked at that, but what about cholesterol? We talked in the years past. I remember, the only thing that I remember about cholesterol is this articles that came out, this was years and years ago, about anal seepage. That's right, that's what supposedly cholesterol caused, and there's an actual scientific term for that, but I won't get into that. There's an article I found when I was looking at this, and it's kind of a clever little set of points that they make, and different foods that have different foods that cause anal seepage. So the title is, of course, 5 foods that cause anal leakage, and that's divinecaroline.com, and this is an article on that website by Liz Monty. Now, she says, when a consumable makes it necessary to buy new underwear, you just know something ain't right. And one of the things she points out, once you pop, you can't stop, and that's covering the chips that contain oleester, or also known as olein. It's found in numerous, quote, light and, quote, fat-free potato chips. Now, an indigestible molecule is what it is, and it inhibits the absorption of vitamins and minerals, causing abdominal cramping, loose stools, gas, and perhaps most notoriously, anal leakage. Yet, despite its infamous reputation, the Olean website reports that over 5 billion servings of the fart maker have been served and continue to be served. Now, no wonder Pringles fat-free chips are in the same aisle as the adult diapers. Well, of course, they're making a little joke of that, but that's actually shown to be, cause that leakage that you hear. That's in thevinecaroline.com. And now going on to the next food item here. These are typical foods that we would eat at a Super Bowl party. And this is, I am exposing the Super Bowl party foods. During last year's football championship game, more than 450 million chicken wings, or 90 million pounds, were consumed, according to the Washington, D.C.'s National Chicken Council. Now, the FDA, there's an article that I just saw recently as well from naturalnews.com. The FDA finally admits chicken meat contains cancer-causing arsenic. So you can look more at that article. Now, the next food item, it's estimated that more than 49.2 million cases of beer were consumed by Americans during last year's Super Bowl Sunday. Of course, who can forget beer when you think of football and the American, the American love of that sport. And of course, beer. I looked it up and see, well, what's bad about beer? What can I look at as far as a what goes in it type thing, an ingredients list or an ingredient that is not safe or not something we would want to ingest. And I found dreamingabeautifulworld.blogspot.com. They have a little thing on GMO beer. That's right, we cannot get away from GMOs. And if you've seen some of my other videos, I've been covering a series of special reports about GMOs. And we finished up on corn last week, and we're going to be moving on to soy. But Dreaming a Beautiful World, it has information tools to create a beautiful world. That's the name of their blog. And it's GMO beer, concerning GMO beer, and then GMO corn in beer. You might not have known that they've put corn in beer. Well, apparently a little known secret in the brewery world is that you may be drinking GMO beer if you purchase from non-craft breweries. Now, many of the larger breweries are using 35% malt and 65% adjuncts in their beers. That adjunct is usually rice or corn derived. Unless using organic corn, there is an 85% chance the corn will be genetically modified, or GM. Therefore, there is a good chance that your general brewery beer may be made from GM corn. Now, small craft breweries usually use malt for most of their beer, and of the 4 craft breweries I called, this is the person quoting this in their article, the ones that he called, in his area, only one used any corn-derived products, and that was the One Lone Lager beer. Now, unfortunately, they were using market corn, which means it has an 85% chance of being GM corn. As we looked at last week, it's hard to get away with corn being in everything, and a majority of the corn being genetically modified that we consume, and that's in our food supply. Now, there's another list that I found online. It's from listmy5.com, and it's a list of typical Super Bowl foods that we might eat. And I've taken some from this one as well, and that's what we're going to continue on with here. And it's titled The Top 5 Foods Consumed on Super Bowl Sunday, of course. And you can find that on that website, listmy5.com. One of the big ones is processed cheese. Now, manufacturers see a spike each year in the week leading up to the big game, with last year's total sales of this orange goop totaling $7 million for the week. You just can't get away from that cheese sauce and that cheese sauce with the sausage in it, and you dip those chips in there, the GMO corn chips, I might add. But it's just so good, and it's hard to get away with. But like I said, you might be that person in the corner saying, oh, no thank you, I ate before I came. Pizza, there's a big one. Domino's expects to sell roughly 1.2 million pies on Super Bowl Sunday alone. If you factor in Papa John's, Pizza Hut, and every other local pizza shop sales for the day. It is estimated that close to 7 million pies will be sold across the country. Now, a couple of items that I could think of off the top of my head that are in pizzas. Some of the main ingredients, of course, cheese. Can't have pizza without cheese. And then just this week, I was looking at a bag of cheese that I was using, the pre-shredded variety. And I was looking in there because there was a recently buzz around the internet that was talking about cellulose, which is wood pulp. It's literally wood pulp and sawdust in our food, and it's used as a filler, and it's used as a thing to bulk up the food and create cheaper food that we're demanding, which in the long run is causing us to have higher health bills. But getting right along, you can find that in barbecue sauce and other highly processed foods and packaged foods, cellulose that they're putting in there. And that's in the cheese, and now it's in the form of cellulose powder, it says on the ingredients list that I saw personally with my own eyes. And it actually says it's cellulose powder to prevent caking, so it keeps the cheese from sticking together. And which, if you leave the cheese out for half an hour in a hot kitchen, it starts to stick together anyway. So why put sawdust in my food if it's just going to stick together anyway? What's the point? But also, we're going to go on here, and you can look at bromated flour also, and some of the other dangerous things that you use to make pizza. And you can't have pizza without meat on it if you're a meat eater. Sausage and pepperoni, of course, processed meats. One of the most powerful cancer-promoting food ingredients of all is called sodium nitrate. And, of course, that's what they put in sausages, especially, and a lot of processed meats. So naturalnews.com talks about sodium nitrate. Another one here, and this is to end on a somewhat positive note, avocados. That's right, tons of avocados will be consumed and made into guacamole, and will be eaten with chips and dip and things like that, and putting on various items. And I tried to find something wrong with avocados. I love them, and they're great for you. They're a superfood, but I tried to find something wrong with them, and there wasn't much wrong with them as far as being genetically modified and things like that. There are there's a fungal resistance that they've been testing avocados for, and they've been doing field tests in the USA in the past, and testing a genetically modified avocado, but right now I don't believe there are any, and there is a possibility in the future that they will go into commercial production in India, of all places. But for right now, it seems like avocados are, from what I've seen, are pretty good for you as far as non-GMO and then just in the food itself being good for you. So and they could go into production in India, of course, and that's from gmocompass.org, gmo-compass.org. But now just watch out for those tortilla chips that you use to dip in that guacamole, because those are made from corn. And of course, we know the dangers of genetically modified corn, and more than likely your chips are genetically modified unless they say organic, and you pay twice as much for them. So now there's another big one here that I came up with that I could think of and that I want to contribute and add to these lists, and it's a big one. If you're not a beer drinker, you're certainly going to drink soda at a party, more than likely at a Super Bowl party. And soda, of course, is a big one. It contains high fructose corn syrup. And the big one, if you do a diet soda drinker, is aspartame, a very dangerous chemical, brought to you by the loving people of Monsanto, who are bringing us all these GMO products as well. But high fructose corn syrup is a highly refined corn syrup, and we're not going to get into that because we're going to do a whole series of special reports later on down the road. But we know that also, when I looked at a news article a couple weeks ago, that was a big one that was in the news and food news, was that a Mountain Dew would be capable of turning a mouse into jelly. And of course, you could get turned into jelly this Super Bowl Sunday. And I'm not talking about getting loose after drinking that GMO corn beer, but I'm talking about the soda that you are ingesting. And I know that you also think that drinking diet soda is better for you, and surely you don't think drinking it. Surely you don't drink it for the taste. I mean, it's gross. But the fact is, real sugar can be way more healthy than aspartame in the long run. Aspartame is a dangerous and engineered sugar, known to cause brain problems and blindness and so on and so forth. And we're going to look at that also in a series of special reports later on. But by the way, next time that you are waiting in line at the grocery store, you're waiting in line there, you're waiting for the cashier to call your name, instead of looking at those magazines and all the sorts of tartum, now, the tartum that they portray, now if you're going to try to look up tartum right now, you might not find the definition of the word that I'm referring to here, because I kind of made it up. Of course, a tart is a quote, nubile young temptress who dresses teasingly and provocatively. And so I coined the phrase, or I'm trying to coin the phrase, tartum, being the act of being a tart and all tartedness. But they're, sitting there on the cover teaching our young daughters how to dress and how they want them to act, which is the opposite, is the way they should in most cases. But instead of looking at those magazines when you're waiting in line at the cash register, those things are there for a reason. But something that's also there for a reason, those impulse buy items such as candy and snacks, check out those gum and candy wrappers. Gum specifically. I just challenge you to do that. And you can see that almost all of them contain aspartame. Now, that's not just the ones that are labeled sugar-free either. That's not just the ones that are sugar-free. Even sugar candy and sugar gum is containing aspartame now. I don't know if it's because it's a cost thing or what, but you got to check this stuff out before you're giving it to your kids. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely criminal if you ask me. But moving right along, in conclusion, foodoffensive.com is our website. I do a weekly report bringing you news and articles, not about cooking really, or how to cook, or what's going on in the celebrity chef business, but talking about what's in our food, going into organics and going into the actual things that are in our food and what's making us sick. So I'm going to have more document links and info from this particular presentation, so maybe some stuff that wasn't presented in this particular video, and in future links from other videos that we do. And of course, as always, you can see that if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that at the bottom in the info section about all the links. I try to bibliograph everything and really cite everything that I put on here, because it's out there and it's coming from mainstream and popular blogs and popular credible news sources. So remember, eat up all ye humans, for tomorrow our cancer, infertility, diabetes, high blood pressure, and all sorts of other deadly diagnoses await us. This has been a foodoffensive.com weekly update coming at you from the front lines of our food supply. Thank you for joining me.